Hello everyone! In this week's video, I'm redrawing cartoon scenes in my style. A lot of times I'm drawing myself into scenes from cartoons, movie, and anime. This requires me to draw in the style of the scene I'm drawing myself into. However, this week I felt like drawing in my style, so I'm going to find some scenes from cartoons and draw them in my style. I'm going to be drawing scenes from two different cartoons. The first one is Avatar: The Last Airbender because many of you have been wanting to see me do something with it, and I have also started to rewatch it recently. So yeah, I thought it sounded like fun. I mostly searched through episode 1 for a scene. At first I wanted to draw some kind of cool action scene. The thing is that because this is an older cartoon and I am looking through the first episode, when the characters are tiny they lose a lot of their detail, so I decided to go with something that is closer to the characters' faces. I thought about drawing Aang or Katara because I found some nice scenes of them, but then I came across this shot of Zuko. Zuko's design and expression here is very much outside my norm, so I thought it'd be a good challenge. I never really draw bald characters or burn scars, so let's see how this goes. Drawing Zuko's uncle was pretty easy. I kind of just copied what I saw in the screenshot. Since it's just a shot of the back of his head, I don't have to change it much to make it work with my style. So that part was easy. But Zuko, on the other hand, not so much. I'm starting off with my rough sketch to figure things out. Thankfully, Avatar is animated in an anime-inspired style, so transitioning it to work in my style isn't too complicated. My main concern was getting his eye with the burn to look right, and also getting his head to hopefully not look too weird. I really like drawing hair, so I rarely draw illustrations of characters without it. I also really wanted to capture his angry expression. For his mouth, you can see both his upper and lower teeth as well as the shape of his tongue. I don't have to draw mouths in these kind of expressions super often, but it is always something I want to practice more. Being able to draw a wide range of expressions and mouth poses is very helpful, especially when working on comics like I do. And I always want to try to play around with the variety a bit more. Also, I do want to make it known that I am purposely drawing Zuko looking a bit younger, or at least I'm trying to, than he does in the scene that I'm drawing from. Zuko is only 16, but in the screenshot he looks like he's in his 20s or something. So I'm trying to draw him looking a little closer to his age, hopefully. For the cleanup sketch, things went smoothly. I don't have a ton to say for it, except for that I did draw the mouth twice. The first time I was trying to do things more on my own without looking at the screenshot. I wanted to reference the scenes for sure, but I would put them away and not look at them, that way things would still be my own. However, my mouth shape that I drew didn't feel quite right, it felt a bit off. So I did end up looking at the screenshot and tried doing something a bit more similar to it. And I do like this second mouth more. Something I did add of my own is that you can see the gum a little bit for the upper teeth. I feel like adding this helps the mouth seem like it's really open. Like I said, drawing different or more expressive mouths is definitely something I want to practice more, and doing screenshot studies like this is really helpful. In the show, for Zuko's burned eye, they don't really give it a lower or upper eyelash line. And this does help give it the idea that it's scarred and doesn't really grow eyelashes. However, I wanted to still add the eyelash line, so I'm doing that. However, during the coloring process, I will keep the lashes on this side lighter to make them feel less impactful, but still kinda there. I don't know, it just felt too weird to not add them. It was kind of funny drawing Zuko's hair, or lack of it. I kept feeling like there was something else I was supposed to draw or do. I kept being like, is this really it? Am I done? I feel like I'm missing something. It felt really weird. Now we're on to the line art. As usual, I'm using the AA ink brush. I don't have a ton to say for the line art, so we're speeding through it. Another thing I found I want to work on when I was working on this is being okay with the head overlapping and leaning out, if that makes sense. Like, because of how Zuko is standing, his head is overlapping with his neck and a good amount of his chest. I don't think this is something I would have decided to do on my own, but I'm going to try to keep a mental note of it being a posing option. It makes it feel like Zuko is really getting into his uncle's face and trying to be intimidating. Also, if you're wondering what Zuko is yelling about, he's trying to demand his uncle teach him some kind of special move or something. Even though Zuko is like always angry, he was always one of my favorite characters when I watched the show when I was younger. I liked his design a lot more when he got more normal hair. I'll talk more about the characters more later. For now, it's time for coloring. In the scene, the sun is setting, so the sky is an orangey color. Because of this, I'm going to use a lot of warm colors in my shading to make the lighting look like it's being caused by a sunset. The light source seems to be coming from the left based on the shading in the screenshot, so I'm going to do the same. One thing I did to help his head look like it has some form and isn't just a round sphere is I shaded around the brow and its muscles. A lot of times when we scrunch up our face, we get creases, especially in the brow area. I will sometimes indicate this with expressions that are angry, but I pushed it even more so here since we can see the forehead a lot more than usual. I also defined the side edge plane of his head. So if you look at heads, they aren't like perfect circles. They kind of have like a flat side to them, sort of, if that makes sense. It's not just like a perfect sphere. So I kind of indicated that with the shading. Once again, I felt like doing this was a good study and a good way to try something new. Like the super strong shadow on the right side of his face is something I kind of do sometimes, but I will often shy away from it since it can be tricky. But in this case, I was kind of pushed to include this shading on the face. I couldn't just chicken out and do what I usually do. I was forced into it. It was a bit tricky shading the face because of the scar. I was starting to have a hard time telling what was my shading and what was the scar. You might see it in the footage, but I actually turned off the scar for a little bit so I could check my shading and see if it matched up with the form of the face okay. I was trying to ignore the scar and just shade the form of the eye socket, but the scar was making that kind of tricky for me to visualize. As a kid, I kind of watched Avatar, but it wasn't until the show was kind of coming to an end. Also, I had a hard time fully understanding the story because I just watched random episodes that were posted to Nick.com at the time. And they didn't have all of them, they just had random ones from different seasons. But even so, little preteen me became pretty obsessed with it. I really loved the art style and the characters and the silly expressions they would make. I didn't know what anime or manga was at the time, so this was kind of my first introduction to it. I never know if I should call Avatar an anime or a cartoon, but a lot of times anime is referring to animation that is made or produced by Japanese studios. So being that Avatar was made by Nickelodeon, I should count it as a cartoon, I think. I don't know, what do you think? You can definitely tell it's influenced by anime either way. So yeah, I really loved the characters. I think Zuko was maybe my favorite, but I also really loved Toph. I thought she was so cool. I have been kind of rewatching the show in spurts, but I don't have much time to do so. As a kid, I kind of liked Sokka, but he was one of my least favorites, I think. But I think I like him a lot more the second time around. He is kind of a jerk at times, or kind of rude, especially in the early episodes I've been watching. But he is a really funny character. Also, does anyone know if there is a list of essential episodes of Avatar to watch? Like a list of episodes that further the plot? Like I said, I don't have a ton of time, so if I'm going to rewatch the show, it might be more doable if I only watch the needed episodes that aren't mostly filler. If you know of a list, let me know. I would love to take a look at it because yeah, I just don't have a lot of time to watch the show. Oh, also, I noticed I should have made the burned area more wrinkly looking. In the show, they kind of just draw lines, and I indicated it a bit more with shading. I do feel like this helped it look a lot more like a scar instead of just like a pattern slapped onto his face. Anyways, now the picture is done so we can compare. Here's the original scene. And here's my version. Working on the scene was a challenge for sure, but it was a lot of fun because I was getting to try new things and play around with sunset lighting. I love sunset lighting. But yeah, I hope you like how this turned out, and I hope I didn't make Zuko look horrible. I tried my best. Next, I'll be redrawing a screenshot from Miraculous Ladybug. But before we do, I want to thank XP Pen and TourBox for sponsoring this video. XP Pen and TourBox synergize to simplify creative workflows, with seamless integration of advanced tools that empower digital artists with an all-in-one solution. This collaboration enables users to unlock their full potential and focus on producing exceptional outcomes in less time, making it the best partner for digital creators. The XP Pen Artist Display 24 Pro is the very first 23.8-inch 2K QHD graphics display that delivers vibrant and realistic images with accurate color and deeper contrast by doubling the resolution of the FHD displays. It supports USB-C to USB-C connection and features 2 red dial wheels, 20 customizable shortcut keys, and a PA2 battery-free stylus with up to 60 degrees of tilt function, providing an immersive and seamless creative experience for left and right-handed users. The standard cable version of the TourBox editing console empowers artists' creative process by easily customizing their controls to suit their specific needs, resulting in a more efficient and enjoyable work experience. The standard cable version of the TourBox editing console empowers artists' creative process by easily customizing their controls to suit their specific needs, resulting in a more efficient and enjoyable work experience. The sleek and ergonomic design make it comfortable to use for extended periods, while its compatibility with popular creative software ensures seamless integration into any workflow. For me, the Artist Display 24 is a dream to work on. It has so much space for me to work with, and the matte finish of the screen feels great to draw on. And with the TourBox alongside it, I can access all of my tool settings and shortcuts with ease. There are a wide range of XP Pen tablets, and TourBox offers an elite wireless free version. If you're not sure which one would work best for you, take this test to discover your inner creative personality over on xppen.com. Links in the description. I love working with XP Pen tablets and use them all the time for my work, and the TourBox is a very lovely addition. I highly recommend checking them out. Thanks again to XP Pen and TourBox for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to drawing. When I thought of this video idea, I knew I wanted to redraw a scene from Miraculous Ladybug. I searched through multiple episodes and decided on the scene from the episode Jubilation in season 5. Marinette is about to transform into Ladybug. I chose this scene because I really liked the lighting in it. Also, can I just say, I didn't really notice until I started to go through different episodes from different seasons, but the lighting overall in season 5 is really pretty and fairly consistent. In a lot of seasons, you'll see quality changes from episode to episode, and that is because the main studio that makes Miraculous outsources animation to other companies, and some companies do higher quality than others. But yeah, the lighting in season 5 is really pretty in a lot of the episodes. Another reason I chose it is because I wanted to draw Marinette. I thought about drawing Ladybug or Cat Noir, but I didn't really feel like drawing them in their superhero outfits. And I had already drawn Zuko for my other screenshot, and he's a boy, so I decided to draw Marinette for this one since she's a girl. We have a little bit more variety in what I'm drawing. I do have to say though, Marinette has always been hard for me to draw, and I'm not totally sure why. I've drawn her a handful of times over the years, and each time I always felt like it never turned out super great, or I just didn't really like it. Something about her hair always gives me trouble, and also her eye shape. I always feel the need to kind of mimic the style of the show and its proportions, even though I'm drawing in my style. So yeah, it's always a bit tricky. But it has been a few years since I last drew Marinette, so I was hoping it'd be better this time around. I've been a fan of Miraculous Ladybug since it started airing in the United States. I remember it was December or January, like 8 years ago or something. It was early in the morning and I was bored and on winter break, so I was doing some channel surfing. As I went on to Nickelodeon and saw Miraculous Ladybug playing, and the style of the show caught my attention instantly. I thought the characters were really cute and the concept seemed really interesting. It was kind of like a magical girl anime, but not at the same time. So I continued to keep up with the show. Fast forward 8 years and the show is still going, and sometimes I don't totally know how I feel about it, but we'll talk about that later. Another part I was nervous about for drawing was Tiki. Her body proportions are kind of interesting, and I tried my best to draw them. Thankfully, it went a lot smoother than I was expecting. I did take some creative liberty with her facial expression. In the screenshot, you can't really tell what face she is making. It looks really blank because her facial features are so tiny. Here, I draw her looking kind of concerned, but I end up changing it to a confident smile later on. Now we are on to line art. The day I was working on this, I had to actually wait to get the line art done. So if you watched last week's video, you know I've been sick recently. I'm pretty much over it now, but I was still sick while working on the art. And for whatever reason, the cold I got made my asthma flare up a pretty good amount. I had to do multiple nebulizer treatments for a few days, and I did 2 the day I needed to do line art. And the thing about my asthma medication is that it makes my hands tremble a decent amount. It's one of the side effects. And you can probably imagine shaky hands makes it really hard to do line art. So while I waited for my hands to calm down, I just worked on emails and other small businessy stuff. And I also started working on a Spotify playlist for my wedding reception. My sister Reagan was having fun helping me find songs. She knew a lot more normal music, I guess. She had a lot of good romantic songs, or songs that would be really fitting for a wedding reception. She was definitely a lot of help. My music playlist was no help at all. I listened to a lot of kind of weird music, I don't know. A lot of Vocaloid, anime, video game, worship music, random music my fiance has showed me, Disney soundtracks, Veggie Tales. I noticed I don't listen to very much just normal music. But anyways, made a playlist for chill music, a playlist for upbeat music, and a playlist for slow dances. I still need to add more to them, but we are making progress, so that's good. Thankfully, my hands did steady out after a while, and I was able to work on the line art, as you see. But now it's time for shading. The screenshot has dappled lighting, but before jumping into that part, I am going to shade the picture normally. I will add the dappled lighting in later on with a new layer. Oh, also, my sister kind of kept laughing because it looks like Marinette is glaring at Tiki. I was trying to make it look like she wasn't glaring at Tiki, but that's kind of just what it looks like. So like I mentioned, I always have a hard time drawing Marinette. This time it went a little more okay. I let myself have a bit of creative liberty with her hair. I kind of changed her bangs a little bit. Also, I always want to draw her pigtails way smaller than they actually are, so I tried to make them true to size. So yeah, I do feel like it turned out better than other attempts, but at this point I still wasn't totally feeling like I loved the picture, and I couldn't totally put my finger on as to what or why exactly I felt that way. But yeah. The shading felt pretty simple and standard. I'll have more to say about it as we get further into the process. For now, do you mind if I do a bit of ranting about Miraculous Ladybug? Also, I'll try my best to not get into anything too spoilery. So I want to start by saying I am a big fan of the show. My siblings and I all love to watch it together. When they post new episodes, we all get excited and watch them together and sit down. And there's a lot of squealing and laughing, and it's a fun time. But that being said, I feel like the show has so much potential and it's not being used, and that's frustrating. Or some of the choices about the story or how they write characters just don't make sense. I think some of my biggest issues with the show are characters losing character development and episodes doing a bunch of build-up for basically nothing. So character development. The characters can feel very inconsistent at times, or the show will spend episodes trying to develop the character or make them change in some way. And then for some reason, all of the development is just kind of lost, sometimes with almost no explanation. I feel like Chloe is the perfect example of this. And I won't get too much into this because, like I said, I don't want to go into spoilers. But if you know, you know. I feel like Chloe is the perfect example of losing character development because they worked so hard to develop her in some episodes and then she just goes back to normal. And I do understand that in real life we will have development in our personalities or we will learn things, but then eventually we will go back into our old ways. But I feel like with a lot of the characters, they'll just like have development and then just lose it for some reason. Like for example, Marinette in some episodes, she will brag about how easily she can talk to Adrian now, and she can talk to him like he's just a friend and whatnot. But then in the next episode, she's back to not being able to talk to him, and it's just so confusing. Like I said, the second thing that often bothers me is build up for nothing. So like there will be episodes where all of these awesome or plot changing things are happening, but then because of some kind of time travel or memory loss or something, it just all doesn't happen. And I'm getting really tired of that. It's happened for so many episodes. But a different build-up that annoyed me a ton, and it's one that I don't really know if I should go into because of spoilers. But as a hint, the build-up I'm talking about is related to these characters. And if you watch the show, you probably know what I'm talking about. It felt like there were episodes upon episodes building up the situation between all of these characters, and then the show basically got rid of it all in like 2 episodes. And this bothered me so much, they just threw a ton of possibly interesting plot points out the window, just to go back to what we were dealing with before basically. Oh, also random side tangent, the Rooster Miraculous is so weird. And I find it funny how they took a good few minutes in an episode just to explain why Monarch can't use it. Out of all the Miraculous, the Rooster one bothers me the most, just because it's so vague and ambiguous. Also, another random side thing, I'm so sad that they got rid of a character in the episode Migration. I really like that character and they were so great in that episode, but then they just got rid of them. At least the reason kind of made sense, but I'm still not happy about it. Also, I haven't seen all of season 5 yet or anything. I'm just watching the episodes that have been airing in the US. So please don't spoil anything for me down in the comments. So yeah, I do enjoy the show and watching it with my siblings. But like I said, it feels like it has so much potential that's just not being tapped into. So there's my little rant about Miraculous Ladybug. When I brought up that I wanted to rant about the show in a different video, many of you wanted to hear it, so there you go. I hope you enjoyed my rant. Anyways, back to the art. I was at the point that I felt like I could add the dappled lighting, and I really love dappled lighting and the look of it, but I do always find it to be a bit hard to execute for whatever reason. I always get picky with how it lays on the character, so I did a good amount of trial and error, especially around the face. That's where I got the most picky. With this first attempt, I was applying the shadow with a pattern brush that is made for a dappled light look. I would move my brush around kind of randomly and apply the shadow. Then if there were spots I wanted to erase, I would take the same brush, set it to transparent, and erase parts within the shadow I applied. I also drew random lines to imply branches throughout the leaves. Once I liked the shape, I locked the transparency and made the areas around the light a reddish color to make those areas feel warmer. Then to make the light be more impactful, I selected all my shadow, inversed the selection, and then applied a bunch of yellow set to add glow, and then lowered the opacity. This made all the empty spots have a brighter light and made the light areas feel a little bit more impactful, because I was kind of having a hard time seeing the shading and I wanted the light areas to feel a little bit more warm and like light was hitting them. So while I was doing this, I was not looking at the screenshot. Like I said earlier, I kept putting the screenshots away because I wanted to try to do my own thing and not really rely on or totally copy the screenshot. But because of this, my colors here ended up being really off. Like I said, I really like sunset lighting, so I went with something kind of like that. A lot of purples, yellows, and reds. And I do feel like it's pretty. But the next day when I did look at the screenshot next to my art, I felt like it was too off and felt too different. So I used different correction layers and changed the colors of some of my layers to be more blue or cool in color, so that the scene looked like it took place sometime in the afternoon. While doing this, I also went around and touched up some areas and did a bit more rendering. Things still felt a little bit unfinished or like they didn't pop enough, so I thought adding more highlights would help. I also slightly changed the color Marinette's hair. It felt a little too blue, and her hair is more of a desaturated dark blue, so I tried to change it a bit. But yeah, I was happy I could get this piece to a place where I can say that I like it. For a lot of the time I was working on this, I felt like I didn't like the picture very much or how it was going. But as I was adding these finishing details, I started to feel better about the picture. Now the picture is done, so let's compare. Here's the screenshot. And here's my picture. Doing these scene redraws were a ton of fun. I got to draw fan art for shows that I like, and I also got to push myself to try new things or work on things I've been wanting to work on. The scene from Avatar definitely pushed me out of my comfort zone. Also, if you have any shows you want to see me do this with, let me know down in the comments. If you liked this video, you may also enjoy this video where I drew video game scenes into my style. Anyways, that's all for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next week in my next video. Bye!